31 Days of Horror with Mark.
Good evening, folks. Apologies, it's obviously been a wee while since I've done a video. Kind of fell too busy watching films. That coupled with the fact that I don't think there's a huge amount of demand for like these videos, but like fuck it, like I'll just keep doing it for me. These are for me. But if you're watching, thank you. If you're a long time fan, then sorry, the content's been a little bit on the sporadic side. But yeah, so I figured to do a quick video mainly on Halloween Ends because I've kind of seen a lot of kind of like mixed to negative reviews on it and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of like share my 2 cents if it's kind of worth anything to you. So yeah, me and the other half, we caught Halloween Ends on the Saturday. Went to a packed IMAX screen. So it wasn't packed. That being said, it was during the day on a Saturday kind of thing. So these kind of like horror films tend to kind of like fill up around about like well, it tends to be like a later thing, date nights and what have you. So as a general rule of thumb, I tend to kind of avoid horror films on a Friday or Saturday night. I've had some of the worst experiences of my life in terms of cinema viewing within within horror films at that time of night. So as a general kind of like, unless it's something I medically need to kind of see, and I need to kind of see it because if I don't see it in enough time, it's gonna like be spoiled for me and what have you, then I'll make an effort. Although if it's something I desperately kind of like want to see, I tend to take the day off. That's how kind of committed I am to kind of trying to avoid late night screenings kind of thing. It's not always the case I have, but it is very, very rare that you didn't want to kind of slap somebody up like in a late night kind of like screening, especially a horror film. Vocal reactors, idiot kids, and so on and so forth. Thankfully this was an 18, although just as a wee kind of side note, I got an email from like the cinema and basically kind of saying, oh, by the way, just so you know, like no one under 18 is allowed in this, so we'll be asking for ID, like wink wink. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't look under 18. I mean, like, apparently I've been told I look young for my age, which is always like, stop. But yeah, just I thought it was really kind of funny that they emailed me to the point whereby I actually took ID just in case. And Yvonne was kind of like, you know, like, they're not going to ID us. And I was like, well, I don't think they're going to either. However, I didn't know if they maybe kind of had a policy whereby they were going to ID everybody. I didn't want to be in a position whereby, like, one, I would have to kind of argue with like somebody like maybe even like a quarter of my age going, you realise that like I've been born probably a good 20 years before you were even thought of, pal. So yeah, like so aside for that, we went to kind of catch it, and thankfully no IDs. They obviously seen we were wise beyond our years. So yeah, so I think generally just kind of like straight up saying, I think generally as a whole, I've enjoyed like the newer Halloween kind of trilogy like outright. I know, especially with this one, and I'm gonna try and remain as spoiler free as I possibly can do. But it's kind of hard to talk about the film without essentially talking about the film. So yeah, I'll try and kind of signpost whatever I can. But like I think that overall I enjoyed the trilogy completely, and the reason being, I think straight away, was that there was something for everybody. So I don't think I caught the original Halloween until maybe like a little bit later, after like seeing some of the later ones. So for example, Halloween 4 and 5, and potentially I don't remember 6 all that much. I'm pretty sure I remember 4 and 5 relatively kind of well. So and these were like the, you know, like the return of Michael Myers, and I want to say the other one's a curse. I can't remember what 6 is. Somebody like feel free to kind of jump in. I thought 6 was the curse. So it's return, and then yeah, like anyway, I like off the top of my head I can't actually gonna remember the title. So yeah, like points off for me. But I remember watching those films when I was a wee bit younger, and then I then eventually kind of like during my kind of formative horror years, I saw the original and I kind of watched that. I don't think it was long after seeing those films, and so like I could appreciate the original, and like I was totally kind of like bought in, and then I saw the second one and I was like, well, okay, second one was okay, but I didn't kind of rate as high as the first one, and so the first one became my like my Michael Myers White Whale. That, I mean, it was the film that I kind of well, maybe no white whale, probably like the wrong term to use, but yeah, like my holy grail. Holy grail is probably a better kind of like term for it. So yeah, so that was my like my Halloween gold standard kind of thing. So annoyingly, like I'm just another beside note. The first one I ever saw in the cinema was Halloween Resurrection, and the less said about that piece of shit, the better. But like, that's potentially kind of like a nice wee segue into this, because what these guys have kind of done with this kind of trilogy is they've not just kind of pandered to like the people that love the original, and this is what I really kind of respect. Now I know that this last one has had mixed reviews, as it, and I understand 100% why it's had the kind of mixed reviews it's kind of had, straight up either negative or like people really liked it. And I think I've been speaking to someone today as well that who's also kind of said that they absolutely outright hated the second one as well. And I like, again, I can kind of see where they're kind of coming from. The thing I loved about like these three films is there was something for everybody, no matter what kind of part of the kind of franchise that you kind of like you stepped into effectively. These guys were fully aware that it was like folks that like the franchise in general didn't just kind of like the first film. Like they didn't just kind of like come and go, oh, like the first film, and then that's it. Like the entire Halloween Michael Myers fan base doesn't just like Halloween. They like Halloween 4. They like Halloween 5. They like there. I cannot imagine a scenario where this is possible, but at the same time, like folks will like Halloween Resurrection. I didn't rate kind of Halloween H2O. I think when I watched it when I was a bit younger, I probably liked it a wee bit more. But like going back and revisiting it, I was just kind of like, this isn't anywhere near as good as I can remember it. And so, yeah, so like I completely understand why some folks are just like they're just no kind of feeling it and what have you. There's certain parts of the franchise they do like. I know like one person who, as far as I can tell, straight up hated the whole lot, and I'm just and to the point whereby I'm pretty sure they hated like the 2018 Halloween and still went back for seconds and thirds, which completely boggles my mind. I do not understand if you didn't like the first one why you would go back and watch the rest. But you know, you do you. It's like it's your money. It's like your cinema pass, whatever. So yeah, it just seemed a little bit kind of odd. And they were very vocal about like how they did not care for the last one. So going by my experience, so just to kind of put you in the kind of picture there. So this one kind of picks up, so initially it picks up about a year after the events of the second one. And obviously like the second one, you're like, you know, it's kind of geared up and like they've kind of done this thing whereby like, you know, like Michael Myers is this force and blah, and like it's basically kind of building up to that kind of, you know, that like the showdown between Laurie and Michael. However, when this kind of kicks off, it kicks off with a completely different thing, and so obviously they kind of build up this kind of like this opening event whereby, you know, oh, Michael's still around and he's gonna pop up and he's gonna cause some carnage. However, what does effectively happen is it's completely skewed. It's something completely different to what you'd technically be expecting, and pretty kind of brutal to say the least. So we end up following a completely like normal character for a sizable chunk of the film. Now straight away, like I can tell that that's probably going to piss off the hardcore Michael Myers, much like Halloween 3 pissed off like again like the old school Michael Myers fans, because to those of you that don't know, John Carpenter had no intention of making this like a continued franchise. As far as he was going to do Halloween, and then what he wanted to kind of do is almost like an anthology thing whereby like the films would be referred to as Halloween, but it was going to be something completely different. So when 3 came along with no sign of Michael Myers whatsoever, and there was this kind of like, again, this kind of side anthology story and stuff, which I only kind of managed to see for the first time last year, like fans threw up their shit. So toxic fan bases have existed since way before the internet, just FYI. But like people lost their shit. They're just like, "Where's Michael Myers? I want Michael Myers." And so this obviously irked Carpenter to the point whereby he sold the rights on to the franchise. And just basically went like, you know what, I'm washing my fucking hands there. I'm done. I'm not having any of it, kind of thing. With the exception of kind of like the score being prominent throughout, and obviously kind of like ending up with the creator credits kind of thing. And so that kind of makes me a wee bit sad because like I watched 3, and while I can understand it, again, it's not for everybody. I respected it because it was something different, and I seen what he was trying to do with that and what have you. And as I say, it just kind of irked me that he felt so kind of disenfranchised by the franchise that he was like, not get the fuck, I can't be bothered with Michael Myers for the longest kind of period kind of thing. Again, so just kind of going back to it, as I say, we kind of follow a character that isn't Michael Myers. Now, like to say, there is obviously elements of Myers. Again, I'm not going to say too much. I really, really didn't want to kind of say too much. Like if you're going in, mainly because I'm kind of curious to see what you kind of think about. Unless you're certain people that have already went, not fucking here. But the reason I kind of respected it, like what these guys did, as I say, is so this film screamed 90s, screamed like 90s, so late 80s, 90s kind of Halloween to me. Like the way that it was shot, the way the characters interacted, the fact that one of the characters is kind of ride the motorcycle and stuff, and and he's got like his lady kind of like holding it, like it just screamed proper kind of like the film I kind of would have watched when I was like a young kid. So that's why I think a lot of people are just like, what is this? But again, they forget that, as I say, is if you go back into the franchise, if you kind of like deep dive, there was shit where that happened all the time. Like at the end of 4, again, I'm going into spoiler territory here, but like almost it's like, I think it's implied that the soul of Michael Myers is kind of transferred into Laurie's daughter. Laurie's like nowhere to be found. Come the 4th one, but like basically kind of goes into kind of like his because obviously they established a familial connection, and like so from like 4 onwards he was like gone after the family kind of thing, and so it ended up in his, I want to say, niece. Yeah, it would be he'd be Uncle Mike, which is probably no that like even more creepy than like the standard creepy uncle. So yeah, and so like she's like cracked by the end of that one. It's been a while since I've seen the 5th one. If it's kind of kicking a bit, I might try and kind of like catch it at some point. But yeah, so like, and I'm pretty sure the 5th one like continues, and she's still like, woo. So yeah, kind of lost my train of thought there, but yeah, so. So I completely see why they were kind of going for this, and as I say, like proper 80s 90s vibe that I kind of got for it. And that's again, so just like going back to my original point, the reason I kind of loved like each iteration of these kind of films is it was just it was a homage to the entire franchise. It wasn't just, as I say, they didn't just kind of pick like the original Halloween's like, right, we're gonna do this. They didn't do a straight up requel. I mean, like 2018 kind of counts as that, but almost like a homage to H2O, because like that was like the several kind of years later. They like completely kind of gloss over the familial connection as far as they're concerned, because like there's obviously elements that they kind of liked and elements they didn't like. But again, they didn't just make it about them, and that's what I kind of liked about this. So like this this ending kind of piece was more to do with, says like I'd say the fans that kind of grew up liking like 4 and 5 and even kind of 6 kind of thing into that point H2O. Like a friend of mine also so he was watching like the kills, and he basically kind of he mentioned to me, and he was like, it's like, oh, like I don't think that like Myers would kind of like blatantly kill this kind of couple and what have you like within the film. And obviously thinking more about like after kind of seeing like ends and what have you, I was just like, well, actually, yeah, it would depend again, depending on like your entry level into the franchise. Like by the time 4 and 5 and 6 came along, as far as I'm concerned, he killed indiscriminately. He was like a meant like don't know what I was like, but he was like a mass murderer by that point. He just went in. So him essentially going on the rampage and kills kind of makes sense for like the character at that kind of point. So yeah, again, like the guys that kind of made these kind of like 3 films were just like they wanted people like any kind of fan of the franchise like at any point to come in and like have something to enjoy. Now whether or not that kind of worked for you or no, that's fair enough. Like as I say, I enjoyed all 3 films, especially like I especially enjoyed the third because when I was watching, I was like, I know exactly what they're kind of doing. Like it's almost like it finally kind of clicked. Because I like it. There is references to 3, for example, in Kills, where like 3 the trick or treaters are kind of rocking like the masks from Halloween 3. So like again, when I saw that, I was just like, oh, like that's kind of neat. So like I knew that they were paying some kind of like lip service, excuse me, to like the previous films, but this, like I say, almost kind of sort of like it was like that kind of penny dropped, and I was like, ah, right, okay, I see what you guys have kind of done there. So while I completely understand that it's no for everybody, and like as I say, I know folks that have straight up kind of disliked, I really enjoyed like all 3 of them. Like I liked them for the like each kind of almost like the era of Halloween I was kind of watching at the time, kind of thing. And watching these 3 films together because I watched the 2018, and then I watched like Kills. Pretty much before going to see like Ends as well, and just kind of, as I say, seeing like the culmination in what they've kind of done. I was like, all right, that's really kind of sweet. It's really like it's nice that they haven't just kind of like basically broken off like a group of kind of fans and went, right, you know what, we're just gonna kind of like pay attention to this kind of part of the franchise. So like I really enjoyed that bit. But yeah, I mean that's my kind of thoughts. Just in terms of the franchise in general, I genuinely have like a love for most of it, to the point whereby like I wouldn't care about like owning an entire box set, because at one point I probably would kind of sit and watch like them all, like whether like I'm gonna like what some more than the others. I watched 4 last year, and I'm pretty sure I watched it and I was just like, yeah, this is nowhere near as good as I remember. But at the same time, like like teenage me like lived for that shit. Like he was just like, oh my god, like he's just gonna be like murdering folks and like this is. But again, like 90s kind of horror, that's what we kind of expected. Like like your Scream, fair enough, there's a meta kind of like the meta commentary and kind of Scream, but at the same time it's very kind of gory, it's very stabby, like. But so that era kind of like kind of horror kind of worked a lot for me. I've been kind of watching horror since before I was allowed to watch horror, kind of thing. Like I'd watch stuff that like was deemed like appropriate, because my mum was kind of like, you know what, it's fine, it's not going to damage them. As far as I can tell, it's not damaged me yet. Like time will kind of tell on that. But yeah, yeah, so like I've lived and breathed kind of Halloween since like I was like a young kid, kind of thing. They'd like up until recently, I think the only one I'd never seen was like Halloween 3. I'd seen the entire franchise. I can't really get remember. As I say, 6 is one that kind of doesn't kind of like ring like in my head. I went to see the Rob Zombie remake, and I liked the remake with the proviso that I only like the theatrical cut. I think the unrated director's cut is fucking awful. Excuse the language, but I just particularly the fact that it's a little bit kind of it's too like sexual, like with particular kind of reference to it gets like unnecessarily kind of raping. You're just like, what's this? And I'm just like, I don't like shock value for the sake of shock value. And so just kind of like when I watched that, I was just like, nah, like, and I was really excited to go. Oh, I was like, oh my god, I got the unrated kind of director's cut, which annoyingly is like one of the. It's really kind of nippy to try and get a hold of the theatrical cut. I think the only way to get it is if you get the German Blu-ray. But yeah, so like I've been kind of like enjoying Halloween to the point whereby I like the remakes and stuff like that. Sorry, another additional proviso: Halloween 2, like the sequel to like the 2007 Halloween, is not a good film either. It was very, very bad. So yeah, I just want to kind of preface that there. However, as stated, I wouldn't be like adverse to kind of watching it again. Like I'd probably sit through there with like sit through the entire thing going, oh my god, this is awful. But almost like any excuse to see like Myers being Myers and in some capacity, whereas like whereby he's either slowly stalking and kind of killing folks or just gone on a ridiculous rampage whereby he's like offing people for like no reason other than, oh, by the way, it's me being me kind of thing. So yeah. So all in all, I enjoyed Halloween Ends. I enjoyed like 18, so Halloween 2018 kills and ends all together. Especially as I say, when that kind of like that final puzzle piece kind of clicked, and I was like, oh, okay. If you didn't like it, fair dues. That's up to you, kind of thing. I think Yvonne was saying that it was the one that she liked the least, but she still kind of enjoyed kind of like elements as well, kind of thing. So yeah. So hopefully I've kind of like given you like my 2 cents without spoiling it too much for you. I think I've remained very spoiler free. Whether or not you agree is like up to you, but again, I don't think I've kind of really kind of discussed too many kind of plot points. So yeah, so thanks for listening, if you are in fact listening. I'll try and kind of like do a couple more kind of videos before the end of October as well. But yeah, if you are watching, I really appreciate it. Pop a comment in, tell me I'm talking pish if you feel the need. It's completely up to yourself. But yeah, thank you very much for your time, and good evening to you all.